see GCF, what are we talking about there? Greatest common factor. Very good. So if I just throw these up on the board real quick and I say 15 and 25, what's your greatest common factor there? 5, right? It's what number divides into both of them. The biggest number, okay? So GCF would be 5. What if I say 16 and 32? 16, okay? 16 times 2 is 32. All right, so 16. But you guys see how you said 4 and 8, okay? Those would be, I'm going to show you some things here in just a second on that, but you've got to be careful because if you don't pull out the biggest one, it makes it wrong, okay? It'll also cause problems later on, okay? So biggest thing we need to understand is it's going to be divisible into both numbers or all parts, okay? And it's got to be the biggest number that you can divide, okay? So we'll come back and define greatest common factor here in a minute, all right? So let's look at this guy right here. So I've got 15x plus 25x squared. Now you guys already told me 5 comes out of both, right? We just put 15, 25 on the board and immediately you all said 5, okay? Now the variables, we got to look at variables and how do we attack those, okay? So if I look here, I have 1x here, right? 1x, and how many x's do I have here? 2, okay? So I'm just going to write here right above it, I'm going to draw. I got 1x here, and there are 2 x's here, okay? So now the question is greatest common factor. How many x's do they have in common? 1, right? And I can even circle them. They have 1 x in common, okay? So my greatest common factor here will be what when I put all that together? 5x, okay? So whatever your greatest common factor is going to go on outside the parentheses. And then we're going to put what we call the leftovers on the inside, okay? So I just talked to you guys about that we're basically dividing. So we're dividing both parts by 5x, okay? So now, what happens with the x's on this guy? They cancel out, right? 15 divided by 5 is 3. So I have 3 plus, all right, now go to the next guy. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And I have x squared and an x on the bottom. How many x's do we have left? 1 on the top, right? So x, it'll always be on top, by the way. Okay? So we have 1 x left over. So now, if I kind of think about this, in reality, all I've done is I've pulled out a 5, and I pulled out 1x. Okay? The rule of thumb here is going to be you pull out the smallest exponent on your variable. So if I have a 1 here, right, a 1 here and a 2 here, which one's smaller? 1. So you pull 1 out. Okay? Because that's how many they're going to have in common. Whatever the smallest number is, that's how many there's going to be in common. Okay? All right, so let's try it again. All right, so first thing, let's look at our numbers. 12, 24, and 30. 6. 6 would work. Okay? So we're going to pull out a 6 because it comes out of all 3 parts. It has to come out of all parts. So I'm going to pull out a 6. Now, let's look at our x's. Okay? Again, we're pulling out the smallest x, right? Okay, so I have 1x, 1x, and 2 x's. So how many x's can I pull out of all 3 sections?
1.
Just 1, right? Pull the smallest, okay? So I have 1, 1, and 2. And we just looked at, we could circle 1 on all of them, right? Okay? So I'm going to pull out a 6, an x. Okay, now look at your y's. Okay, I have a y squared, and y to the 4th. So how many y's can I pull?
1.
Just 1. Again, pull out the smallest. Okay? All right, so I've got a 6xy. Does anybody have a question on how I came up with that? Okay, so now, let's do our parentheses. We're going to divide it out. Now, I am not going to keep writing division of 6xy here. I am fine if you do that, but that is not something that I'm going to keep doing because a lot of this needs to start being done in our head. Okay? So if I take 12 and divide it by the 6 on the outside here, what do we get? What's 12 divided by 6? 2. Okay. So 2. Now Link just said x and y, but what happened with the x and the y?
They go away.
They pulled out, right? So if I look here, did the x moved out, right? And the y moved out. So is there an x or a y left? No. All right, so let's go to the next guy. Plus, okay, 24 divided by 6 is 4. All right. Now, x. Is there still an x there? Should be no, right? Because it got pulled out, so there's no x's left. What about our y's? You have 1 left, right? 1 is on the outside, and 1 is still on the inside. Okay, so, and again, if you need to write 6xy underneath each section, go ahead and do that. If that's something that you need to do to get these right, then you do it, but that's not something I'm going to keep doing, okay? All right, so now, we do the next part. 30 divided by 6 is?
5.
So minus 5. All right, how many x's will I have left over if I pull 1 out? 1. How many y's do I have left over if I pull 1 out? 3. And that's your answer. Okay. All right, does anybody have a question on that? Okay, take a second. I want you to try to do number 3 on your own. 3 on your own. All right, let's go ahead and start talking about this now. I am going to pick on Tessa here for a moment because she didn't quite get it right, but it's the same mistake a number of you are making. All right?
Nope.
Tessa, can you tell us what your answer is here so that we can look at it?
I got 4x and then 4 minus 10.
Okay, so now let's look at Tessa's answer and talk about why this is not quite right, okay? So, when I'm looking at this one, I love her variable work. Her variable work is spot on. All right, so we've got an x and an x. She pulls out an x. No x's are left, right? Z squared, she pulls out 1z and has 1z left on the second part. So her variable work is really good. It's a number work, okay? So if we look here, she pulls out a 4, and this is a common mistake. You see something that you know goes in, you pull it out. However, look on the inside. Can something still come out of 4 to 10?
2.
Okay, another 2. So instead of pulling out a 4, what should we pull out? An 8. Now, you can always spot check real quick. When you pull something out and you look on the inside, double check. Is there something else that can come out? So in this case, the answer is yes. They're both even. So we know a 2 is going to come out. All right? So let's change this over because Tessa does what a lot of you are going to do is you pull a number that you think it's the biggest, but there's actually something bigger. Okay? So let's change this over to an 8 because you guys just told me 8. All right? And the 4 and the 10, what should I have now in that first part here? 2. And then what about the 40? 5. So 2 minus 5z. Okay, is there a question on that? You were close. Like I said, that's a common mistake what Tessa did. There was a number of people erasing it. It wasn't just you, kiddo. You just happened to be the one I picked on. All right? Okay, number 4. Let's try number 4. Same thing again.